Word from the White House, it's selling the framework for this nuclear deal on Iran. President Obama saying it meets our core objectives. Tehran hailing the move as a big victory, celebrating in the streets of Tehran last night. The critics, and there are many, they remain skeptical, including our ally Israel, fearing the worst today. Josh Earnest, White House Press Secretary, back with us live today here, and welcome back to America's Newsroom. Josh, and thank you for your time. There's a lot to discuss, as you well know. Good morning there.
Good morning, Bill. Nice to see you.
The president late yesterday said this shuts down Iran's path to a bomb. Can you guarantee today that Iran will not go nuclear?
Well, Bill, what we have effectively done with this agreement, and it's an agreement that still needs to be completed at the end of June. But if this is an agreement that is completed, and it's an agreement that we verify that Iran lives up to, it would, in fact, shut down every single pathway that Iran has to developing a nuclear weapon.
Now,
and that is our goal.
How is that possible under this deal, the way I understand it, that no nuclear site that exists today is shut down?
Well, what it is, Bill, is that we would essentially prevent them from being able to develop weapons-grade nuclear material. And that means that we would take the plutonium reactor that currently exists in Iraq, which is a very dangerous facility where you can build up substantial nuclear weapons-grade material. We would actually be destroying the core of that reactor, shipping the parts out of the country, and ensuring that as it's being restocked, that it's restocked with equipment that would not allow you to process plutonium at a weapons grade.
And that may be the case, Josh, but on that point, just this past week, Iran said we're not going to do that. How can you trust this government to fulfill what you would otherwise consider an honest negotiation?
Yeah, Bill, we don't trust them. And the fact is, that's why we're going to have international inspectors who are nuclear experts having regular access to that facility to verify their compliance with the agreement. And here's the thing. If we determine that they are not living up to the terms of the agreement, then we can snap the sanctions back in place, and we will have before us every option on the table that we currently have. So the best way for us to resolve our concerns with Iran's nuclear program is to pursue diplomacy and to verify their compliance with the agreement. We're not going to trust them. We're actually going to verify their compliance with the agreement.
Okay, there are no snap inspections based on what I read. I mean, is that a dangerous thing to say yes to?
Well, Bill, they're still working out these details, but this is the most intrusive inspections of any country's nuclear program that have ever been put in place against a country. So what we're talking about are the toughest inspections that have ever been put in place. So it's not just their nuclear facilities that are subject to inspection. It's also reprocessing facilities for nuclear material. It's uranium mines inside of Iran that are subject to inspection. It's weapons facilities that are subject to inspection. It's the manufacturing facilities where they build the centrifuges that actually make up their nuclear facilities. Those would be subject to inspection. So what we could do is essentially from all across the supply chain of Iran's nuclear program, we could verify their compliance with the agreement and make sure that they're not able to.
If you don't have snap inspections, you cannot do that. If you see movement on a satellite, you want to go there that day. Not a week from now or a month from now. You don't want to re-engage in negotiations on this. Snap inspections are essential. Why is that not in the deal?
Well, to be clear, Bill, what is in the deal are daily inspections of Iran's nuclear facilities, particularly at Natanz and Fordow. That is critical to this agreement. And again, what we're talking about are the most intrusive, strict inspections of any country's nuclear program in history. And that is indicative of the fact that we, for good reason, don't trust Iran. We need to verify their compliance with the agreement.
Okay. Iran's foreign minister, the lead negotiator, sent out a tweet late yesterday saying there's no need to spin using fact sheets so early on. I mean, that was a shot at our commander-in-chief, our president. It might have been a shot at John Kerry as well. Some are basically saying that he's calling the president a liar. And that takes me back to the question about how you negotiate with this regime and trust them.
Yeah, Bill, I don't know if it was a shot at the United States or not, but the fact is he's not contradicting any of the facts, any of the understandings that are included in that fact sheet. And he's obviously out there trying to make the case to his population and to his country's leadership that he got a good deal. We're doing the same thing. And the facts that are included in our fact sheet about shutting down every pathway they have to a nuclear weapon and putting in place the toughest inspections regime that's ever been put in place against a country's nuclear program. Those facts remain. Those facts are not contested by the Iranian regime. And that is the underpinnings of this framework. And what's also important is we also need to recognize that, look, there are a couple more months where we're going to go through the details of this agreement to make sure that this is something Iran's going to live up to. So a final comprehensive agreement is something that we're hoping to get done by the end of June.
All right, 2.5 years ago, the president said this, okay, on the screen for our viewers. Quote, "We know that they don't need to have an underground fortified facility like Fordow in order to have a peaceful nuclear program. They certainly don't need a heavy water reactor at Arak in order to have a peaceful nuclear program. Yet today, these facilities will still be in operation." Why, Josh?
Well, Bill, what people need to understand about this agreement is that there will be no weapons-grade plutonium that is available at the heavy water reactor in Iraq. And the Fordow facility is not a facility that is going to be enriching uranium. It's going to be enriching medical isotopes that have legitimate peaceful purposes, but not uranium. And that is the key part of this deal, is making sure that we're shutting down every pathway they have to a nuclear weapon. They cannot develop a nuclear weapon at Iraq. They cannot develop a nuclear weapon at Fordow. They cannot develop a nuclear weapon at Natanz. And we have such strict inspections in place that they have no option to develop a covert facility either. And what we have done through this agreement, if we can complete it and if Iran lives up to it, we will verify that Iran is not able to acquire a nuclear weapon.
I hear a lot of ifs in our conversation.
That's right, and that is because we still are waiting for a final agreement to be reached at the end of June, and that will be an agreement where our scientists have gone in, examined all of the numbers to verify that this is an airtight deal. It also is going to require that Iran live up to the terms of the agreement. It's not as if on day one, Bill, that we sign the agreement and we can sort of all shake hands and walk away knowing Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. We're actually going to make sure that in day one and week one and month one and year one, and even beyond, decade one, that we are closely inspecting Iran's nuclear facilities and verifying their compliance with the agreement. And if they don't, we will snap sanctions back into place, and we will have on the table every single option that we need in front of us to confront Iran's nuclear program, and we'll be standing with the international community as we do it.
2 more points, and on the international community. This word from our ally in Israel, Prime Minister's office. A deal based on this framework would threaten the survival of Israel. What do you say to Benjamin Netanyahu today? What do you say to the people of Israel on that?
This is a view that Prime Minister Netanyahu has articulated on many previous occasions, and his tone hasn't changed. And he certainly has the right to articulate his view. But the President has the right to articulate his view and to take the steps that he believes are clearly in the best interest of the United States. And that's exactly what he's done. He believes it's in the best interest of the United States.
Do you think this threatens Israel's survival?
I don't. In fact, I think this is a good deal for Israel to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. Now, it does not resolve all of our concerns with Iran. Iran is a bad actor in the Middle East. Iran is a country that regularly menaces our closest ally in the Middle East, Israel. And the United States remains committed to continuing the unprecedented security cooperation between the United States and Israel that has taken place under President Obama's leadership. And unprecedented is a word. It's not just the word that I use. It's actually the word that Prime Minister Netanyahu himself has used to describe that security relationship.
Okay, well, last question here. The president has said for months this deal is a 50-50 proposition. Even he was not convinced that whether or not this will work out, and you have stated that as well. But if it was 50-50 going in, what is it right now? What is it this morning? Is it better than that, or is it the same?
Well, the 50-50 proposition was an evaluation of whether or not we'd be able to reach this sort of framework agreement. And we've beaten the odds. We are in a position where we did reach this framework agreement. But the fact is there are important details that still need to be worked out. And we're not going to be...
You're putting this at greater than 50-50 today. Do I hear that right?
Well, what I'm saying is that there are still a lot of details that need to be worked out. And what we have done is the 50-50 proposition was a question about whether or not we'd be able to reach this interim general framework agreement. And we did. We did reach that agreement. But the question now is, can we go to the next step? Can we reach a final comprehensive agreement that our scientists can verify in detail that Iran is living up to the terms of the agreement, and that this agreement would essentially shut down every pathway they have to a nuclear weapon. Right. That's what we're hoping to achieve by the end of June.
Let's see if we get there, okay? 90 days and counting. Josh Earnest, thank you from the White House today. Appreciate you coming back.
Thanks for the opportunity, Bill. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, and to you as well.